And we will begin this evening talking about how South Florida, to the surprise of very few, local governments approved millions in incentives for corporate expansions in 2025. Now, these were programs that were helping to attract new headquarters from across the country and around the world.
Obviously, you have Miami making it happen, and they're always probably going to be doing that. That's like it's a big area. They got a lot going on. But so they're always probably going to make this list. But there's cities like Boca Raton who are making an effort, much smaller cities, right? And so one of the top ones on the list for 2025 was BioStem Technologies, right?
And we've talked about them a lot.
Yeah, biomedical company.
You always want to have cutting edge technology, businesses in your area. But in light of AI and all the things it brings to the table in terms of furthering developments in record time, this would seem like, this was almost like catching something, not necessarily at the dip, but getting on the wave right at the right time when, we could really see some explosive growth here.
BioStem, they've basically negotiated $300,000 in incentive. They've moved their headquarters to Boca Raton. That's 100 jobs at $81,000 average salary. That's basically the requirement, right? That's what if they hit that, they get the money, is typically how these things are structured for anybody who's curious. And they also, in order to get this incentive, they also agreed to spend $49.5 million on capital investment.
Well, Palm Beach County, to the surprise of no one here, luxury contracts have surged post-Mamdani win. I say no surprise, but following the headlines, depending on who you listen to, it sounded like, I would assume the entire city of New York in the upper class would have moved out just based on, if you turn on the right channel, that, oh my God, everyone's gone on and on and on. But now let's get down to the facts of it. And it sounds like there are actually some higher end folks that are on their way out of the Big Apple. Buyers signed 29 contracts between November 10th and November 16th, totaling $235 million in asking dollar volume, which is a significant jump from the previous week's 10 contracts totaling $67.7 million. Are you getting more New Yorker phone calls?
I think we get more calls from sellers saying that they think their house is going to be worth more because of this dynamic than actual buyers calling. I think there's truth to this. But I would also flag, and if you read deeper into this, I'm just curious where the 29 contract buyers originated from, right? Mm-hmm. So, and if you analyze that, I think you'll find that, maybe there's some in there that are New Yorkers and they're escaping for that reason. And then I think there's others that are just so happened to be a little bit of a coincidence. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's all coincidence here. Let's put it that way. I just think maybe like the jump of, $235 million from $67 million. There were some big deals that went pending in this thing. For example, we got a Stone Creek property, right, at $47 million. I mean, that's basically the total.
You know who that is, right?
This isn't. I don't think this is Marky Mark.
Oh, that's not Wahlberg's?
No, it's somebody else. So okay. I'm pretty sure it's not Marky Mark. I think we have it on the list down here. Okay. I think it's somebody else for sure. I think if we dig deeper into this, I don't think those 29 contracts necessarily are all from New Yorkers running from Mamdani.
Panic.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. It's like, and I have a number, I grew up in the Northeast. So like I have a number of friends that work in Manhattan. They make over $1 million, right? And so and that's kind of the Mamdani threshold, right? 2% income tax on individuals earning over $1 million. That was his campaign promise, right? And so, and here's the thing, those friends of mine that make, over that $1 million target, they're not leaving because their job is there.
Let's talk about a Canadian manufacturer who is choosing Boca Raton for its U.S. headquarters and factory. You may have heard of them, maybe you haven't. Essential Organic Mattress, which opened its first U.S. factory and U.S. headquarters in Boca Raton. The company purchased a 17,000 square foot industrial building at 6510 West Rogers Circle for just over $5.5 million. The site includes offices, showroom, and a manufacturing plant that can produce up to 1,000 mattresses a day. That's a lot of mattresses. Boca facility will employ 22 people, combining relocated staff and local hires.
It's like just good to reinforce, hey, again, there's like manufacturing happening in South Florida. There's things being made, right?
That's a good
this
point.
Isn't just, come vacation here. There's real industry, and there's more and more real industry arriving every single day. So
yeah, no, but I mean, the manufacturing, you hit it right on the head. It's like, that's a problem in the U.S. in general. That's been one of the selling points of the current, president, and trying to bring those jobs back to America, since, they've been made in Asia for, God, I feel like most of our lifetime.
We've seen this when we work with certain clients relocating from Canada. A lot of the clients that have come recently, Peter, have been business owners that have been able to relocate their business out of Canada. Maybe they're like doing something tech wise. Maybe like one of our clients was a web developer, and he relocated all his web development stuff south, and now he lives here. Another guy was a big real estate guy, and he was gradually figuring out how to get citizenship and come here. And I think he was, investing quite a bit in the US in order to get that type of visa or that type of citizenship.
Who's also good? Stephen Ross, not necessarily as the owner of the Miami Dolphins, but he does good business. And lo and behold, Related Group is at it again alongside 13th Floor as they plan to replace Aventura apartments with condos. Shocking. If there is waterfront to be had in South Florida, you can be sure condos are coming for you one way or the other. Back in January, they paid $82.5 million for the Arium Lincoln Point Apartments. If you're familiar with Aventura, 17900 Northeast 31st Court, replacing the 1991 rental complex with 2 condo towers, either 31 or 32 stories tall, depending on the final plans. That's big.
There's so many big buildings right in that little corridor there. It's like you're kind of cruising on the intercoastal around like massive buildings and a lot of green space in the proposal. I like that.
Yeah.
82.5 million, as you mentioned.
Right.
Like,
that's
it. And it's a big piece of property. So it makes sense. Yeah.
It almost feels like
51,000 square feet of amenities, 409 condos, where people are buying these things thinking they're going to crush it on the pre-sale front. So I just want to flag. I was this for like everyone, and we'll see if this statement rings true, 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. But I've been watching these buildings go up that Related has, and they're selling. And then these guys afterwards, after they're done, or right as they're done, a lot of them go back on the market. We were at the W in Pompano, and they were saying, hey, this is where we think things trade. And they were claiming like, hey, this thing's pre-sold, this thing. They're kind of comparing comps with me. And like, I just quickly pulled it up because I had looked at it before I came, and I was just like, yeah, you're saying those numbers, but I'm looking at 30 active listings in said other building that we're comping. And like, I don't know, 30 active listings to me feels like kind of heavy. I know there's like a couple hundred, units or more in these other buildings, but like, I don't know, like 15% of the building for sale feels a little much for me. And again, it doesn't feel like they're moving, which is the other thing.
New laws are reshaping Chinese investments in Florida real estate. Obviously, like so many other foreign countries that have, buyers coming to South Florida, Chinese interest in South Florida real estate is skyrocketing, but new laws are making it harder for them to buy. So here's how the legal battles and policy shifts are reshaping the market. If we rewind to 2023, we had Florida passing Senate Bill 264, which prohibited China from buying most residential properties, all land near military bases, and agricultural land, which that's a lot of South Florida.
We did some on our other channel, Real Estate Market Watch. We did some videos on this, right?
It was but the place
Was it
right before a
Florida?
lot of these laws went into effect was in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Yeah, China bought it made it one of the I guess most valuable towns because of the level of interest from China buying up like all the land there.
Technically, if you're Chinese, per this document, the one single residence up to 2 acres, and it had to be at least 5 miles from military installations. This immediately created confusion for buyers, developers, and agents who suddenly had to verify person's citizenship, visa type, and domicile, something real estate professionals had never dealt with before. Yeah, this was kind of weird. I actually had been working with some Chinese citizens, and we were talking about this. So what happened here in 2024? The temporary pause sparks a buying rush. Miami is again very international. Mm-hmm. China jumped to the number one spot for international web searches. How interesting. Many Chinese buyers treated the pause as a last chance window, so they kind of flooded the market. And then mid-24-25, Chinese demand. During the window, interest from Chinese citizens didn't just increase online. Agents reported more calls, et cetera, et cetera. At the time, the U.S. housing market saw foreign buyer activity rise for the first time in 8 years. Foreign buyers purchased $56 billion worth of U.S. homes between April 24 and March of 25. Florida captured 21% of all international purchases, number one in the country for 16 years straight.
Tesla, man, we haven't talked about Tesla in a while. Not since swastikas were being spray painted on Cybertrucks and Elon was bringing down the end of the United States and so on and so forth. But here we are with Tesla clearing a major hurdle in Arizona and named a few other U.S. cities for its Robotaxi rollout. Florida is on the list, and the shift towards autonomous transportation could reshape mobility across the state. Good news is Florida already allows fully driverless vehicles on public roads. Yeah, that no surprise there. I'm sure I've seen them. It's usually somebody distracted on their phone and running me off the road, or God knows what else.
There's a lot of driverless vehicles on the road right now. Yeah. So this is interesting. So Waymo and Amazon, Zoox, or however you say it.
That's a new one. I haven't seen Zoox.
Or are actively testing autonomous vehicles in Florida right now. So we get, this is coming, guys. This is happening.
I'm ready for it.
Tesla is rapidly expanding its Robotaxi program after launching limited service in Texas, as you just mentioned. Yep. And so they're pushing hard here.
7 Park Residences breaking ground in Hallandale Beach, $70 million condo project. It's also one of the most affordable new buildings coming to Broward County.
$70 million, 8-story building, 124 units, starting at $375,000 plus 4,500 square feet of retail on the front. So this is like a affordable number, $375,000. Obviously, that's the starting price, and we'll probably quickly go up from there. I feel like this thing is going to sell pretty quickly. At $375,000 is kind of like, there's a lot of condos that are not nice for $250,000, right? I can see this being a price point that's real interesting.